Good morning, church. Um, Today we'll uh, talk about the new year from a prophetic perspective. And for those of you who have been following my teachings, you know that we usually recognize the new year as the Hebraic year, and this is 5779. However, we have the Gregorian calendar, and we just switch over to 2019 as well. And so I want to try to, in this sermon, it's going to be a little bit different than what I usually do. I'm going to try to aggregate a lot of the prophetic words as well as to give an overarching theme to what this year is going to be about. And hopefully will help you prepare and also allow you to think through uh, your plans for this year. So let's get started. Okay, this is going to be a prophetic sermon, so it's uh, it's going to be an aggregation of what different prophets have been speaking about with regards for this year. Believe in the Lord your God, and you shall be established. Believe his prophets, and you shall prosper. 2 Chronicles 20, verse 20. So the premise of this sermon is really is that, you know, that the Lord uses prophets, and there are prophets in this world whom the Lord uses to give us some indication on what's to come. Okay, and if we were to believe them, there are ways in which we can prosper in the year ahead. Uh, Prosperity does not only is about financial prosperity, it's about health, it's about uh, relationships. So it's a pretty broad term. Okay, 2019 or 5779, it's the year of the Creator God and transitioning. Okay, so what does that mean? What does that look like? Well, first of all, we gotta understand uh, what it means by the creator. And this prophetic creator word was given out in the year 5779. Okay, so going to 2019, you're going to see a lot more of the expression of that. Now, the reason why I wanted to, in particular, indicate that it was a word for 5779, because the year end for 5779, it's really end of September, September 29. Okay, so and it's not going to be end of 2019. It's not going to be December 31st, 2019. These grays, if you will, we can expect it to stretch all the way to September 29. Okay, so that's something you got to be aware of in particular with this. Now, having said that, the God is not just a creator God in the year 5779. He's a God. He's a creator God from the beginning of the universe, and he'll continue to be every year from now to forever. However, there are going to be seasons in which his expression of his creativity, if you will, would be more pronounced. Okay, and his expression of his creativity through people, through his sons and daughters, would be more pronounced on certain years compared to other years. And prophetically, we believe 5779 is a year in which we're going to see that expression uh, more pronounced. It also means it's a year for grace to move into areas of creativity. Okay, so we're moving the season of amazing creativity. So Genesis 1 verse 1 says, "The beginning God created the heavens." So this is really the source of creativity. God is a creator God. Okay, He is able to make things, and through that, He's able to use or to express His creativity through His sons and daughters. Okay, Genesis 1:28. God blessed them and said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply. Okay, replenish the earth, subdue and have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of the air, over every living thing that move upon this earth." Now we gotta understand that creativity also uh, is goes through. Uh, some people call it the creation mandate, some people call it the dominion mandate. But however you look at it, that there is a sense that there's the kingdom of God. Okay, and that we are entrusted uh, as his children to have dominion over it, okay? To be fruitful and multiply, okay? And God said to them, okay, and you can, uh, I'm not going to go details here, but if you want to look into some other teachings, uh, after spending a lot of time on this verse, I'm of the conclusion that when he said to them, he wasn't referring to Adam as an individual, wasn't referring to Eve as an individual. He was referring to the institution of the family. Okay? And in today's day and time, that the word family that can mean both biological families as well as spiritual families. But it's important for you to fully appreciate as well as fully live out your life that you understand the word them here refers to family because family as an institution would be able to do a lot of things that individuals would not be able to do, companies wouldn't be able to do, or other organizations would not be able to do, including churches as an institution. Okay, this sermon is not on what family means, uh, but if you uh, but if you look at some of my other uh, sermons on it, you would fully understand what it means. So I just want to make note of that uh, with regards to Genesis 1:28. In Deuteronomy 8 verse 18, but you shall remember the Lord your God, for it is He who's giving you the power to make wealth, and so that He may confirm His covenant, which He swore to your fathers as it is this day. Now, there are a lot of prophetic words when it comes to creativity. Believe that it is strongly tied in ability uh, to create wealth in this season. Okay. However, I also want to emphasize that in Deuteronomy 8 verse 18, when the Lord gave people the power to make wealth, he was talking about it in relation to confirming his covenant. Okay. Now, this is a very key part, I believe, that a lot of people miss out because uh, when God gave the mandate to Adam and Eve, the dominion over the earth, okay, they kind of lost it along the way. Now, the second person he gave it to was Abraham. Okay, he gave the same mandate, but and through it, he gave it, he gave Abraham a covenant, and the covenant is just another word for saying a contract. Okay, so God wrote a contract with Abraham, and in that contract, okay, he wanted Abraham to express his kingdom here on this earth. Okay, and if you look at the details of that contract, he said that Abraham was to do two things. One was to be a father of many nations, and the word nation there refers to every other country or sovereign state other than Israel. And secondly, he was to raise up kings, which the Hebrew word is another expression of heads of states, which include prime ministers, presidents, um, and other sovereign rulers. Okay, so now if you understand these two uh, conditions of the contract, okay, you gotta understand Deuteronomy 8 verse 18 now. What the Lord was saying here was that He will give you the power to get wealth so that, okay, you can fulfill the Abrahamic covenant. Okay, you can fulfill the contract that He signed with Abraham. And that contract specifically talks about, okay, fathering sovereign states or governments and raising up heads of states. Okay, now that contract was initially given to an institution called a family. Okay, it was the Abraham's family. Okay, and that's why um, you need to understand that. Okay, now in the New Testament, we're all grafted into that family. We're all spiritually grafted into the Abrahamic family, and therefore, by virtue of that, we are all party to this contract. And because of that, we too can receive the power to make wealth. But you got to remember, the power to make wealth was so that we can fulfill the terms of the contracts. Okay? That contract has to do with discipling the nations, okay, and the word nation that is really sovereign state or governments, okay, and to raise up prime ministers, presidents, and heads of states, okay. So now I'm not saying that you need to do that in your lifetime, okay, but you need to understand it was given to the institution of the family, and that means that whether it's spiritual family or biological family, we all have duty, okay, to disciple nations as well as to raise up heads of states. Okay, it may take you 2 generations, 3 generations, maybe 4 generations to do it. It took Abraham 4 generations to raise up their first head of states, which was the prime minister of Egypt. And Egypt at the time was the most powerful nation on the face of this earth. Okay, so that's where you need to see the power to make wealth and how that ties into the kingdom of God and how that ties in, okay, to the expression of God's kingdom here on this earth as well. Okay, uh, this is also going to be a year of shifting and transition. Okay, and what I'd like to do is to show you a video of a prophet that I love and respect, uh, a prophetess actually, Cindy Jacobs. So if you just sit back, relax, and uh, watch this video, and then I'll continue after that.
One of the words was that we are coming into a season of the age of Issachar. Now, Issachar was the ninth son. If you know anything about being the ninth son, it's like not a popular number, right? I mean, like number one, you really rejoice. Number two, by the time you get to nine, we're thinking maybe, this isn't as important. But we see that Issachar, 1 Chronicles 12, 23, and 32, knew and understood the signs of the times, know what Israel ought to do. Now, Israel's name means reward. Issachar's name means reward, benefit, salary, and compensation. God is raising up Issacharites, those who understand what to do. They understand alignment. They understand sowing. What did the tribe of Issachar know? They knew when to leave Saul's house and go to David's house. You see, they knew when there wasn't a blessing on a thing anymore, so they needed to go to the place of blessing. Many times we get mad at God because we're doing the old thing when He's doing a new thing. Okay? Like He wants to pour out new wine and we're still in the old season. We don't know when to shift to the new season. Now, when you shift to a new season, sometimes there's warfare and sometimes there's a battle. Like when the Issacharites joined David, he didn't look like he had great potential, did he? Because he was in a cave, there was a bunch of misfits, and they knew they would have to war against the old kingdom and against the old things. But the Lord called them and gave them a word to understand the signs of the times. Let me give you one example of that. When God told Abraham to sacrifice Isaac, He gave him a word and He said, "You do this." What if he hadn't heard the second thing? He would have had a dead son and a dead vision. You understand this? So many times it's time to shift and we don't understand when we need to shift. We don't understand how we need to increase. We're just doing the old thing, the old ways, and trying to make it work. So I am decreeing over you that you are part of the age of Issachar and that you're going to understand when to move. You're going to understand who to align with. You're going to understand when you should give.
Okay. So that's on transitions. That's what that's another key point about this year is transitions and shifting. Okay. Now, the next point is on joy. Okay, and it's really interesting. Uh, when the year shifted to 5779 this year, and I was working with some people, I began to realize the shift that they went through as well. And some of them were going through some very difficult, financially very difficult period in life. And then the Lord provided a miracle. They switched to receive an amazing amount of blessing, okay, financial blessing. But I saw how immediately, and I'm talking about like the very next day after they received the financial blessing, their stress level went up through the roof. And it was almost as though they were really stressed and before when they were financially struggling, but when they received the blessing, there wasn't any joy. It was like, they became even more, for lack of a better word, more joyless or stressed out. In fact, they had a hard time even celebrating it. They couldn't even bring themselves to celebrate it, you know, which was very interesting. So, so that's why I've seen firsthand, uh, this is another I believe this is another 5779 prophetic attribute, that the Lord's going to release blessings, okay? And if you're not careful, okay, these blessings don't turn into joy, okay, when they should, okay? And so we have to make a choice when we receive the blessing that we are going to be joyful in that situation, okay? Because you know what? Satan doesn't want you to be joyful, okay? He wants to rob you of that joy. So in the moment when the Lord releases the blessing, okay, that's the time when you need to make a choice. That's the time when you need to decide that you are going to be joyful no matter what and no matter how that blessing comes about. Okay. And when I talk about blessing, is usually something that will allow you to multiply or increase, or something that multiplies and increase in you. Okay. And sometimes I think I need to explain why it brings stress and not joy. So I'll go further into a little bit of detail. Okay. Um, so these people that I know that received the blessing, okay, they needed money for their business. Okay. When the Lord released the blessing and gathered a huge amount of money for the business, it came as a form of investment. Okay. And because of that, all of a sudden, immediately they felt, the stress of having to grow the business, okay, because of the investment money. It wasn't their money, it wasn't a gift, it was an investment in business by investors. So all of a sudden, they felt like they needed to immediately meet the business goals and targets for the investors. Okay. And like the very next day, they just went on an overdrive to try to build a business. And that totally robbed them and stole all their joy. Okay. And would they multiply and increase? Probably, you know, but they just let the enemy steal the very thing that the Lord was intending to give to them, which was the joy. Okay, so be very careful. Be very careful in this season that when you receive the blessing, that it doesn't rob your joy. This is also a season for women to rise. Okay, now we've seen women rising in ministry and around the world, but definitely this is a year where we're going to see where there's going to be an extra grace for women to really step up and to play a more significant role in the world that we live in. Okay, and we're going to see it in the form of the prophets use a lot of the word of multi-generational, but I believe that again that we are all converging to an understanding of dynasty, of spiritual dynasties, and I have a tendency to be a few years ahead of where everything's going, and so you're not going to hear a lot of people use that word, but I believe that the spiritual dynasty is where things are going with regards to the kingdom of God. Okay, a dynasty has a few more attributes that is attached to family. So when you talk about Genesis 1:28, when you talk about the Abrahamic covenant, even though earlier I termed it as family. But what a better word for it really is a dynasty. Okay, dynasties are able to do things above and beyond what families can do because dynasties are multi-generational. So they can accomplish goals that span across three, four, five uh, lifetimes. And I believe that's where we're going. Shakings and upheavals. There's also a prophetic word that this will be the year that there's going to be a lot of governmental upheavals. Uh, it's not clear which government in which country, uh, but have faith to believe that God is going to cause you to get through it and go through it joyfully. And that's the key word. It keeps coming up over and over again. Do not let the enemy rob you of the joy. Because uh, this this is a year where the Lord actually wants to bring joy, and that's going to be where the greatest, if you will, danger is at the moment of the blessing, the moment of the shakings, the upheavals. That's the point where your joy gets robbed. Okay, so here's some takeaways. Okay, if you have not already prepared for the changes season, begin to prepare for it mentally. Prepare for it if you're in business or if you have plans for this year, or if you're thinking of starting a new business or thinking of doing something really creative. Okay, begin to prepare for it. Okay, uh, transitions. Begin to find out whether you should be transitioning in some of the things in your life. Second, be aware of dangers. Dangers in the sense of uh, what what could uh, what could be robbed from you, particularly your joy. Okay, be very aware of that this year. Thirdly, understand where the year ends. For some of the things, the prophetic um, grace, it doesn't end in December. It really ends at the end of September. So when you plan for this year, make note of that. Okay. So hopefully this message would help you prepare for this year. As you make plans, as you begin to think of what you're going to accomplish this year. Hopefully this would help you prepare for that. And I wish all of you a happy new year, a prosperous one, and most importantly, a joyful one. Let us pray.